Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at a part 1 topic, growing vegetables. It might seem tricky, but with the right examples and vocabulary, you'll learn how to answer this topic smoothly and naturally. In this lesson, I'm going to show you 2 complete model interviews, one with Joseph and one with Ivana, so you can pick up useful vocabulary, phrases and ideas to help you answer confidently. Let's start with Joseph.
Are you interested in growing vegetables?
To be honest, I am interested, but more in theory than in practice. I like the idea of growing my own food because it feels healthier and more sustainable, but I don't always have the time or space to actually commit to it.
Have you ever tried growing any vegetables yourself?
Yes, I've tried a couple of times. During the pandemic, I planted some tomatoes and chilies on my balcony. The tomatoes grew surprisingly well, but the chilies didn't survive because I forgot to water them regularly. It was a fun experience, though, and it taught me that plants need more attention than I expected.
Is growing vegetables common in your country?
It really depends on where you live. In big cities, it's not that common because people usually live in apartments with limited space, but in rural areas, lots of families have a small garden or even a small farm where they grow basic vegetables like cucumbers, beans, and leafy greens.
Did you grow any plants when you were a child?
Yes, I remember growing beans in primary school as part of a science project. We put the seeds in cotton and kept them on the windowsill. At the time, I thought it was amazing how quickly they sprouted, even though I didn't continue gardening after that.
What vegetables are easy to grow in your country?
From what I've seen, tomatoes, lettuce, and cucumbers are pretty easy to grow because they don't require too much maintenance. As long as they get enough sunlight and water, they usually do quite well.
Do you think it's difficult to grow vegetables at home?
It can be a bit challenging, especially if you're busy or don't have much gardening experience. You need to know how much sun a plant needs, when to water it, and how to deal with pests. For a beginner like me, that can feel a bit overwhelming.
Would you like to grow vegetables in the future?
Yes, definitely. When I have a bigger place, maybe a house with a small garden, I'd love to have a few raised beds and grow simple things like herbs, tomatoes, and maybe spinach. It seems like a relaxing hobby and a great way to eat fresher food.
Do you prefer growing vegetables or buying them from the market?
At the moment, I prefer buying them from the market because it's more convenient and reliable, but I do think homegrown vegetables taste better, so if I had more time and space, I'd choose growing them myself.
What are the benefits of growing your own vegetables?
The biggest benefit is knowing exactly what goes into your food because you're the one taking care of the plants. It's also quite satisfying emotionally. You feel proud when you harvest something you've grown. Plus, it can save a bit of money and even reduce your carbon footprint.
Do many people in your hometown have gardens?
Not really. Most people in my hometown live in apartment buildings, so outdoor space is limited. A few people keep small pots of herbs on their balconies, but full vegetable gardens are pretty rare.
So what can we learn from Joseph's answers? First, his responses are very honest and grounded. He doesn't exaggerate or pretend to know more than he does, and that's actually a positive in part 1. Secondly, he keeps things personal, talking about his balcony, his school project, and his own experience with tomatoes and chilies. This adds authenticity. Finally, his vocabulary is clear and effective. He uses natural phrases like, to be honest, in theory, and I don't always have the time, which sound very native and relaxed. Now let's listen to a completely different speaking style from Ivana. Are you interested in growing vegetables?
Yeah, definitely. I find the whole process of cultivating your own food to be incredibly compelling. Currently, I'm constrained by space since I live in an apartment, but the prospect of establishing a tiny, productive balcony garden truly appeals to me. There's an undeniable feeling that it's both a healthier and far more personal way to source your ingredients.
Have you ever tried growing any vegetables yourself?
I have, actually, though, only on an amateur scale. A while ago, I tried growing some cherry tomatoes and basil in containers on my balcony. The tomatoes were surprisingly successful. They were small, but their flavor was phenomenal. The basil, sadly, didn't survive, which taught me that I had significantly underestimated the level of attention and care required for herbs.
Is growing vegetables common in your country?
It's highly context dependent. In the rural parts of the country, it's exceptionally normal, almost a tradition where every household cultivates crops. However, in our major metropolitan areas, spatial limitations are the biggest hurdle. Despite that, there's a definite surge in interest, evidenced by the proliferation of balcony gardens and the increasing popularity of community allotment projects.
Did you grow any plants when you were a child?
Yeah, I did. My grandmother was an avid gardener, and she always involved me in planting things like sunflowers and fragrant mint. I vividly recall the sheer excitement of watching the sunflowers grow until they towered over me. Those small, early experiences definitely helped foster a deep appreciation for botany and the life cycle of plants.
What vegetables are easy to grow in your country?
Leafy greens, such as lettuce and spinach, are arguably the easiest. They are incredibly resilient and forgiving of minor errors. Radishes are also a straightforward option because of their rapid growth cycle. And then there's zucchini, which is often jokingly considered too easy. Once it takes root, it tends to produce an overwhelming abundance.
Do you think it's difficult to grow vegetables at home?
It can certainly be challenging, especially when you are limited by space or insufficient sunlight. Nevertheless, if you begin modestly with something like easy herbs or microgreens, it becomes quite manageable and accessible. I believe the main reason people get discouraged is that they try to take on too much too soon.
Would you like to grow vegetables in the future?
Oh, for sure. That's a significant goal of mine. Once I secure a property with an adequate yard, I'd be thrilled to establish a dedicated, productive vegetable patch. I'm particularly keen to try growing expensive varieties like heirloom tomatoes. It just sounds like a rewarding and enjoyable hobby.
Do you prefer growing vegetables or buying them from the market?
At the moment, I am definitely a market consumer due to time constraints, and I appreciate the convenience and immediate variety they offer. However, given the ideal conditions, like more space and time, I would strongly prefer growing them. Homegrown produce is simply unparalleled in its freshness and flavor profile.
What are the benefits of growing your own vegetables?
The benefits are multifaceted. Firstly, you have complete assurance about what you are consuming, knowing it's free from harmful chemicals. It can also provide substantial savings on groceries over time. However, I think the most valuable aspect is the psychological benefit. Gardening is highly therapeutic, and there is immense satisfaction and pride in harvesting and eating something you nurtured.
Do many people in your hometown have gardens?
Yeah, quite a substantial number do actually. Since it's a suburban location, the houses generally afford enough space for a small garden area. People cultivate a wide assortment of things from basic herbs to full tomato plants. And what's lovely is that everyone often shares their surplus harvests with neighbors, which creates a really friendly, close-knit atmosphere.
Ivana's style is different but equally valid. Compared to Joseph, her answers are longer and more detailed, but still relevant and well-structured. She tends to add more descriptive details and examples, which gives her responses a slightly more expressive tone. For example, she talks about fragrant basil or phenomenal-tasting tomatoes and shares context about urban life and gardening culture. This illustrates an effective way to extend answers naturally without going off topic. The main takeaway is that Joseph and Ivana are both strong examples of Part 1 answers. Joseph's style is simple, natural, and very easy to follow, while Ivana's style shows how you can add more detail and vocabulary without losing clarity. Both approaches can score highly, depending on what feels comfortable and natural for you. And that wraps up our lesson for today. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.